Welcome to the series. This is where we perform hands-on exercises using Google Gemini Pro and Python. In this video, we will try to understand how to build a chat system using Gemini Pro API. Here, we will do the following. Find out how to generate a conversation, understand the conversation memory, analyze the chat.history object, and in the end, display the whole conversation and have a walkthrough. Let's get started. All right, let's get to coding. First, let's install the necessary library, which is Google-Generative AI. Once that's done, let's set up our key and configure the Google Generative AI object. We're bringing in as GAI. And with the GAI.configure, by passing the API key, we'll just get the model ready and configured. And here I just threw in a little bit of extra loop using which we get to see which models we have access to via this API. So let's run it. All right, here's a list of APIs we have access to. Here we're going to use just this one, Gemini Pro. That said, let's have a quick recap of our Get Started video. Here we created the model with GAI.generative model, passed Gemini Pro, the model name, created our prompt, and then invoked that model with model.generateContent and passed that prompt as an argument, and then printed the response. Okay, let's run it. And we get our answer. This is just a one-on-one response, one prompt, one response kind of situation. But this will not help us with the continuous chat with the API. To do that, we have to get down to this step. All right, so let's get started with the chat generation with memory. Here we're just creating the model just like before, AI.generative model, passing Gemini Pro. And this time, instead of generate content and prompt, we're using model.startChat. And then sending an argument called history and setting the value as an empty list. And this is the list which is going to get filled up as our conversation goes on. And this will be used as the conversation memory. So before we move forward, let's see what this object is about. All right, so this is our chat session object. That said, let's send our first message, chat.send message. And here we're sending in one paragraph, explain how AI works to a beginner. And we're storing this output in response. But in this case, we're going to see what the history object contains by using chat.history. So let's run this. All right. So this is what our history object looks like after one conversation. So now let's try to break it down. Okay, so let's see how we can get to the user answer from this chat.history. Oh, the role is user, and the user's text belongs inside parts.text, and that's where we see our question. Now let's separate the AI answer. Okay, let's run it. And this is how we can isolate the AI answer. Role is the model, and same way parts.text has the answer. Now let's isolate even more. Let's get just the content out. And here we are, just the text. And trust me, this information will be very handy once we go in the next video. We will be making a chatbot out of it. We're going to need to understand how this works in here. So now let's move to our next message. Okay, so this is going to be our next message. Okay, how about a list of 5 available model names? As you saw, we did not mention is it AI model or what model, right? So we are expecting it to figure out from the chat history. And also there's a little bit of tidbit here, just by adding a comma here and adding this stream to true, you can actually generate the answer as a stream, as we have shown on the first video of this series. But here we're going to keep it simple. Let's look at the chat history object again with our second message. All right. This is how all our messages are going to start accumulating. Now let's ask it one last question just to test the memory. What have I asked you so far? Let's run it. Each of them are actually one conversation in the whole chain of chat session. So here actually answered us in a list. Let's get a little bit more clarification. Let's isolate our last conversation from this list with chat.history -1. And that's how we're going to collect the last item from the list. All right, so let's dig it down a little bit further. Okay, let's isolate the text. All right, so this is the last message from the AI. Let's get to look a little bit better. All right, so let's print it out. See if there's a nice list in there for us. And there is. And it actually says, so far you have asked me these following questions. It kept a nice little list for us and gave us some extra messages. Now we're going to do one last thing. Using this loop, we will try to list out our entire conversation in a nice little format. So let's run it. And this is what our entire chat history looks like. As you can see here, you just loop through the chat.history. The item object is basically every single chat message we send and received answer from. And as you can see here, I took the item.role and capitalized it. And that way we have user with an uppercase, model with the uppercase, and added this colon here. And the actual message is item.parts0.text, which isolated only the text and displayed here. And trust me, this information will be very handy when we try to create a chatbot in the next video. With that, I conclude this video where we worked on a hands-on exercise using Google Gemini Pro and Python, where we try to understand how to build a chat system by generating a conversation, understanding conversation memory, analyzing the chat.history object, and displaying the whole conversation. Thanks for watching.